Jahmyr Gibbs is him. Jahmyr Gibbs is him. This is the Dynasty channel. This is the Fantasy Football Show Dynasty channel. And we're here to discuss Jahmyr Gibbs and how this man is now headed to
Saturn.
To Saturn, not just the moon.
To the moon.
He's going to Saturn.
To
And
Saturn.
the Fantasy Football Show Dynasty version of Jahmyr Gibbs Breakout 2023 week number 8 contest. And what do we do from here? How do we value this man going forward? That show begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live!
Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
So, big game from Jahmyr Gibbs today, and we're on the Dynasty channel right now. If anybody's watching this here and you don't know that you're on the Dynasty channel, you need to subscribe to the Dynasty channel. This will be a real quick video on Jahmyr Gibbs, but usually we have tried in the past to go live on the same topic on the main channel, on the Dynasty channel, and I think no better time to revisit the Jahmyr Gibbs Dynasty value than right now. Guy goes off and has 152 yards on 26 totes of the rock, 1 touchdown, pulls in 5 for 37, and I mean, just looked the part, just looked amazing. Everything we've wanted out of Jahmyr Gibbs, everything we said would happen, happened tonight. His elusiveness, his ability to break the tackle. If anybody remembers week 1, when we all got a little splash of excitement when he did that like fake like reverse and spin, and then he went back the other direction, broke so many tackles, the metrics were off the chart. Everyone was saying like, God, this guy is unreal. The amount of broken tackles he had and the limited usage, just watching him run, getting the work, and every 5-6 carries he ends up breaking something loose, and you saw a lot of those same plays tonight. And I don't know if anybody remembers last week when he had his first breakout game since Montgomery went down. Now this is the Dynasty channel, so you might be watching this 4, 5, 6 months, 8 months down the road. At this moment in time in the season, the 2023 season, Gibbs has been sitting on the bench, just getting cobwebs all over him. And Monty gets injured for the second time, and Gibbs starts in week number 6 and in week number 7 and starts in week number 8. This is week 8 we're talking about. In week 7, the first breakout game since, the earlier part in the season, he had this one run where he ran into the end zone, and every defender had an angle on him, but they couldn't get to him because he's too quick, and he practically went 80%, maybe 70% speed, jogged into the end zone, and everybody tried to converge on him. They couldn't. Even with the angles, they couldn't get to him. His acceleration is through the roof. On Instagram, I put a side-by-side up of Devon Achane and Jahmyr Gibbs, very similar plays. One is on one end of the field, one is on the other, so they're running different directions, but the exact same play where they're running up the gut, and all these defenders, 4 or 5 defenders, have the angle, and they can't even get near him. They can't even touch him. Both running backs from about 7, 8, 9, 10-yard line. Both plays are a little bit different, but very close to the same. They just jogged right up the gut, straight up the gut, untouched. Nobody couldn't converge, and it's acceleration. The acceleration that Gibbs has is unmatched, except for when you look at Devon Achane. Devon Achane has some qualities that Gibbs doesn't have, and Gibbs has some qualities that Devon Achane doesn't have. Let's cover up St. Brown and talk about Gibbs. The qualities that Gibbs has that Achane doesn't have would be like the between the tackles power, the ability to really be a between the tackle running back and not just be somebody. Not that Achane doesn't have power, but Achane definitely is more of a speed, elusive quickness guy that gets out in the open field. He can do that, obviously, but he's also very capable of being David Montgomery for a handful of games or carries or half a game or whatever. I don't know that I would say he's somebody you want getting 25 carries a game for a whole season, but this is why they drafted him, to do what he did tonight, to come in when he needs to come in. And what we need to do is have this carry over into 2023 week number. Next week is week 9. The bye week 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, here's what I'm going to say tomorrow. And we're going to talk about this a lot tomorrow. I know a lot of people are a little scared that Campbell's going to go back to Monty. But what people need to understand, and this is your boy bringing the psychology to fantasy football and the NFL and all that, there's a self-serving bias that's involved when something like this looks as glorious as it does. Campbell and that staff in Detroit look like geniuses right now. The media is just relishing in it. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's saying how great Detroit looked. Everybody's talking about what a great pick Gibbs was. That he was laughed at for being the number 12 overall pick. That the Lions totally reached for him. They didn't need to take him. The media is running with this story right now, this narrative, and it's going to be self-serving. It's going to make Campbell and this staff feel like, okay, we're right. Everybody's talking about how right we were to bring this kid in. It's self-serving for them to continue to use him. I'm not saying Monty's just going to go straight to the bench. And again, this will survive. This content is different on the Dynasty channel because a lot of the redraft channel from week to week doesn't survive months and months because the weeks change. But this is going to be a video that people watch 8, 9, 10 months down the road because we're talking in general about Jahmyr Gibbs' value. But from week 8, coming out of week 8, I believe, my hope, I'm not 100% sure no one can get in the mind of Campbell or coaches for that matter, but I believe that he's going to want to prove himself right. I believe he's going to they're going to want to pat themselves on the back for making this draft selection. I do believe all he needs is 50% of the work. Look at Craig Reynolds getting 14 carries for 74 yards with a 10-yard touchdown called back. That's probably like 80, 85 yards rushing and a touchdown. That available production is still available with a 26 carry, 152 and a touchdown. So I truly believe there isn't enough room for both of them in this offense, especially if you say, okay, let's run Monty up the gut, give him the 100-yard game, and Gibbs could have the 74-yard game with a touchdown. Again, Reynolds had one called back. And then instead of getting 5 for 37, he'll have 7 for 90. You know, there's an opportunity to get the production that we need total yards wise, touchdown wise, touch wise. And if anybody looked at this game, you know, or watched the game, the entire game in week 8 against the Raiders, if anybody's trying to remember months from now, he got 3 or 4 touches before they crossed the 50-yard line on the first drive. They were very, very interested in using him right away. And I have to say that I feel like there's always going to be a potential for coaches to screw things up. And I'm not saying I feel 100% certain that they're not going to screw up Gibbs' value going forward, but I feel very confident the media and the result more than anything, similar to the Bijan Robinson getting misused by Arthur Smith over and over when the Falcons kept winning and Ritter kept kind of getting it done. It was enabling. It would enable Arthur Smith to continue to not use Bijan because they'd win a game. And that's kind of what triggered the early part of not using Bijan. And I hope that by the time you watch this 4, 5, 6, 7 months from now, you will have had a different story about Bijan from like week 9, week 10 on, that he gets fed like Gibbs is getting fed. I don't know how it's going to shake out. Right, as of this moment, people are still frustrated with Bijan, but he did get a rushing touchdown in week 8. Feels like things are kind of going up with Bijan. But it's self-serving when a player does well. It's enabling when a team wins misusing a player. And I think the most important part, other than self-serving here, that that Campbell wants to prove, yeah, I am genius. Everyone's calling me a genius. I'm going to continue to use my genius right now and put him on the field. I think the most important thing to take away is that the team won. The result was there. And when the result is there, then you're going to continue to do what got you where you needed to go. What did the Lions do in week 7? They lost. They got embarrassed. What did they do in week 8? Got back to the run, and they used Jahmyr Gibbs. They used their weapon, and they won. It enables them to continue to do what they did tonight, tomorrow. And in Dynasty, man, I'd have to say the value that this kid has from a Dynasty perspective, I'd have to say something along the lines of I don't know. Let's take a poll in the audience here. This is live. Where do you guys rank Jahmyr Gibbs in terms of running backs for 2023 Dynasty, 2024 Dynasty, 2023 Dynasty? I'd love to know where you guys have him. Is he in your top 5? Is he in your top 10? Is he 7? You know, is he higher? Is he later? Are some of you so skeptical you don't have him in your top 10? And that's okay if you're just skeptical. You're skeptical, Scotty, about what the Lions are going to do. But I would love for you to drop real quickly your ranking for Jahmyr Gibbs in terms of running backs in Dynasty for 2023 go forward. And I'll read off your responses and I'll drag them on screen. How many people switch up on Gibbs now? A lot of people are going to jump on the Gibbs train. I just hope to God it continues. Peanut Butter and Waivers in the building. Appreciate you, Sick Nasty. Peanut Butter Cups is in the house here. Blackbeard, appreciate you being here. Sick Nasty, appreciate you being here again. I know I see Sick Nasty more on the Dynasty channel than I do the redraft, but I appreciate them either way. Admiral, appreciate you being here. All right, let's see what you guys have. Vote here in the chat if you could. So glad I held on to Gibbs and didn't lose faith. Let's go, baby. Let's go to Saturn, man.
To Saturn.
He's the first player we've ever sent to Saturn. Phil's ranking here is top 5 in Dynasty because of usage. I think if I'm in a Dynasty startup, I'm going to draft him at least in the 5 to 10 range for Dynasty running backs. I hope to God that the usage from week 9 on, or week 9 is a bye week, week 10 on doesn't make us feel differently. I hope we feel the same way walking out of week 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and so on. I feel like Dan Campbell will always keep Monty in Gibbs' way. There's that thought, but again, I think the fact that this worked, the fact that they've been proven right about their draft selection is going to enable them to continue to use them. But we'll see. Self-serves, and that's a self-serving bias that I think will take care of that. But we'll find out. It's kind of like if you I don't know. Let me give you an example. If you drafted, like when you picked up Puka Nacua and he went off in week 1 and you didn't have him in your lineup, let's say, and somebody came up to you and said, bro, I can't believe you picked up Puka Nacua. You're a genius. You're an absolute genius. And you're like, heading out of week 1, you're like, I don't know if he's going to continue to do it in week 1 because Puka Nacua was an enigma walking into week 2. And then another person comes up to you in your league and says, bro, I wish I had Puka Nacua. I'm so pissed off. I went to the waiver wire. You drafted him? You're a genius, bro. And then another guy comes up to you and says, bro, oh, what do you want for Puka, man? I'll give you the world. I can't believe you have Puka. I wish I could start Puka. If you had 3 or 4 people come up to you and tell you that, what do you think you're going to do with Puka Nacua the next week? You'll be pressured to start him. You'll be self-serving to start him. You'll be proud of yourself to start him. And I just feel like there'll be a lot of that going on about Jahmyr Gibbs. He was the belle of the ball. Announcers, everybody was talking about how genius this organization is and how good Dan Campbell is, how good this team is for having Jahmyr Gibbs sitting there in the wings ready to rumble, and how his future is bright. I just don't see how that doesn't beef up their confidence in him in a way that they can just tuck him back away and put him on the shelf. You know, I know Arthur Smith's capable of that, but I think Dan Campbell's not. I think this staff will use him. Gibbs is running back 2, says open 24 hours. That is a bold take right there. Top 5 to 7 for sure. I feel like Campbell, again, this one from AA. It makes sense. I'm not mad at your take. I hope you're wrong. AA, I hope you're wrong. But, man, Gibbs to the moon. Gibbs to the moon. Gibbs to Saturn. Gibbs, phenomenal day. Again, anybody missed it. 189 total yards and a touchdown in the Week 8 performance. Coming off the Week 7 performance where he went nuts as well. And coming off of a string of games where Monty was literally in his way the entire time. So, man, gonna be fun the rest of the season for sure. And I feel like, I feel like it's such a good week. Week 8 was so good to our community. We had such a good week in general. It was such an amazing week. I appreciate you all for watching the Dynasty channel. These are shorter than the longer ones, but we're trying to get the watch hours up big time on this channel so I can monetize it. So please share it with your friends, share it with anybody. Let's try and get everybody in here watching these shows. We're going to do some longer ones as well because that watch time will go up as we do longer shows. Definitely help. So Thank you all for being in here. I'll see you all tomorrow. Maybe we'll do a Dynasty show as well tomorrow on top of a couple of the shows on the main channel. So the main channel is The Fantasy Football Show. Let me see if I can pull up this. So the main channel is youtube.com/The Fantasy Football Show. This is the Dynasty channel that you're watching right now, which is youtube.com/Dynasty Fantasy Football. That's my Instagram and my TikTok. And of course, thefantasyfootballshow.com, where you can get all of your content, your bold predictions, your one-on-one text advice, you name it, at thefantasyfootballshow.com. I will see you all tomorrow. Go get Jahmyr Gibbs, baby. Go to Saturn, pals. Go do it now. Monday through Friday, live at 8 p.m. Eastern on the main channel, youtube.com/The Fantasy Football Show. I will see you all tomorrow.